What did I do? Hey. Y'all, it's Wellness Wednesday. It is the second Wednesday of the month. Look at that. Camera just doing whatever it want to do. Sliding to the left, sliding to the right. There we go. That looks so... We just gonna let it be. We're just gonna let it be. Happy Wellness Wednesday, good people. Happy Wellness Wednesday, good people. I'm gonna give it a little second to see who pops in with me, because remember, y'all, it's only second and fourth Wednesday. But guess what? It is summer vacation, okay? It is summer break. That means I do not have to wake up forcefully before the crack of dawn to get ready to go to work, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the few projects that I will be working on this summer to produce. It is production time. It is production time. And so, yeah, y'all, I am super excited about it. Today, I don't really have a specific topic. I know we've been talking about spiritual wellness, and I'm just going to really kind of share my journey of what it's been looking like over the last, let's see, what's today, the 12th, so 20-ish or so days that I've been on a 45-day reset. I think I mentioned that to you all the last time I was on the live, which was 2 weeks ago for Wellness Wednesday, when I was starting the reset. And so now here we are, about 20, I think 27 maybe 27, no, 22 days or so into the reset, and just like some things that God has been showing me, some things that have been coming to light even just within my physical body. And yeah, so I'm gonna give it a minute to see who comes on in with your girl. But let's see, are there any updates? So I have started back doing lives with Dennis. So I do those lives. He was very persistent, like, you know, he's like, I got things to talk about, when are you gonna do lives again, you know? And we were doing lives on Instagram, and so if you follow me on Instagram on my personal page, you know that, you know, I was doing lives quite frequently, and then I kind of just stopped, you know, I don't want to do it anymore. And I stopped. And the last time we did a conversation was probably a year ago, where I had like a panel of parents and men and women, and we just kind of discussed various topics, and it was really, really engaging. And so from there, he's grown some, and he's went through his own, you know, trials or whatever. And he was like, you know, I have some things that I want to talk about, you know, can we go live, X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, sure. So 2 weeks ago, we started going live. And we were talking about, the first thing that we talked about, I think, on that particular live was, hey, B, I don't even remember. It was a live that was just full of a conglomerate of things. And then last night we went live talking about discipline in parenting and like what that looks like. And one of the things that we kind of really settled on was that if you're not mirroring basically what it is that you're looking for your children to do, then just shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's essentially what it is. Like, if you're not becoming the model, then you can't really expect your children to do these things. And as millennial parents, I am a millennial parent. He is a millennial parent as well. Like, we are in a generation where we have like access to a lot of different things. We have understanding for other things. We're in a generation where like we do therapy, you know what I'm saying? We're healing out loud. We're learning about emotional intelligence. We're learning about all of these different things versus how our parents were, and even the generation prior to them. And so it's never about like bashing or shaming, you know, what our parents didn't give us. That is a very small fixed mindset when you stay in that space of, oh my God, my parents didn't give me this, my parents didn't give me that, and I should have did this. You know, I was there for a minute too, where I was all mad at my mom, like, you could have told me about this type of stuff. And it's like, yeah, she could have, but she didn't know. And so when we realize that what they gave us is really what they had, and it is our responsibility then to pick up the torch and move forward and change that trajectory in parenting and just in life in general, that's where we see breaking those generational curses and really breaking generational patterns that are unhealthy, and simultaneously releasing generational blessings and things that we want to see in the earth through our children. Is that hard? Absolutely. Does it take a lot of grit? Absolutely. Does it take even more grace? Of course. And so join us, though. I said all that to say join us. You know, it's not going to be on Facebook unless I figure out how to stream to all of the platforms, and I'm sick of wasting money on different streams, but that's a whole nother situation. But join us on Instagram under the Parent Network page. It's _ the Parent Network _ the June 25th. June 25th, we're going to wrap up Men's Mental Health Month as well. And we're going to be talking about mental health and parenting. Now, from his perspective, because he is, because he is a father, and he is a dad. Something came through on my notifications and it made me say, because he is a father, we want to hear his perspective on what like mental health looks like, you know, in fathering, and then also because he's a divorced father as well. And so there's so many nuances, y'all, to parenting, to life. This is why I always say, like, parenting is a role. It's an important role, but it is just a role that we play in amongst like all of the other roles that we have. And if we do not take care of our mental health, our emotional health, our spiritual health, all the components, because wellness, again, is a well-rounded look at life. So we have, you know, mental wellness, emotional wellness, financial wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, like relational wellness. And I know some people may hear that and be like, oh my God, like I got to deal with all of that. But honestly, when you start at whatever level you're at and you deal with whatever is coming up at that space, it's going to trickle into all of the other realms of your life. So you don't have to feel overwhelmed when you are journeying into wellness, because it is a holistic thing and it is a day-by-day thing, and it is a conscious thing that you have to do. We cannot journey into any form of wellness just off the seat of our pants and just be like, oh, I'm just going to go on this journey and just going to look like, you know, whatever it's going to look like. No, we need to have some intention behind it. And I am always a believer that anything that God reveals to us that he wants to heal, it's a journey and it's an invitation into strengthening that part of your life. And so soul prosperity encompasses your mind, your will, and your emotions. So if you want to just combine it into that, you can be journeying into soul prosperity. And that's needful, especially for us that are parents, but just for anybody that is living. Okay, if you have breath, you can hear me. Soul prosperity is important. There's a scripture in 1 John where it talks about, beloved, I wish above all that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So soul prosperity, health is wealth, okay? And we know wealth is not just the coins, although we're gonna get the coins, but we have to be healthy, we have to be whole, we have to be aware, you know what I'm saying, to go out and get and produce and become all of the things that God has destined for our life to be. So that's just like my little intro into what Wellness Wednesday really is about. It was something that I started in August, and so here we are. I've kind of condensed it just to 2 Wednesdays a month because I have other things that are more pressing. But I do love to share the knowledge that I have, and even the wisdom that I have picked up along the journey of life. So that brings me into today's conversation. I've been on a 45-day just journey. Like I said, today is probably I think it's the day 22. I don't know. I started May 20th. So you do the calculations for me. And when I started that journey, it was because like I felt in my own physical body like things were really off. I have never been a person that has been like overweight or any of that. You know, I've always been pretty fit for the most part. Y'all know when you have kids, you know, it changes the composition of your body and all of the things. And particularly after I had Caleb, which is the little one. He's 10 though, he's not a baby. I noticed that because I was dealing with a lot of emotional baggage and emotional trauma that just really got exasperated in that particular relationship, that I wanted to start a whole just new way of living. And so over the last literally 10 years, well, we'll back it up just a little bit, probably 12 years, I've been journeying into my own wellness and what that looks like, you know, therapy, really okay, all right. Really strengthening, you know, my relationship with God, really looking at personal relationships that I have and understanding. And this is one of the things that I feel like sometimes we have to realize is that the people that we keep around us can also be dead weights. And that's a whole nother conversation. But we have to, when we're journeying into our own healing, and, you know, things become revealed to us sometimes because of comfort and because of proximity, we'll keep people around us that are not beneficial for us, that are not good for us, that cannot go to the next space that we're able to go into. And it can be hard to detach from those relationships. But one of the things that I'm big on, and I teach this, is like really sitting and assessing the relationship that you're thinking about may not, you know, be beneficial to you anymore. You know, looking at that checklist, what are the pros and the cons of this relationship? You know, how do they show up for me? But how do I show up for them? And most times we can feel when a relationship is detaching and you're kind of going separate ways. And that's okay. You know, we don't always have people that are going to be with us for the rest of our lives, although we think that they are. And that was a thing that I had to realize as well. Like certain people that I've come along the journey with, like, are no longer there. I don't have any animosity towards them. I don't hate them. You know what I'm saying? If it was a conversation was necessary, if I needed to, you know, converse with them about, hey, you know, it's time to separate, then that happened. But that took a lot of growing. It took a lot of maturity. It took a lot of telling myself, Ashley, you can do hard things, because sometimes we don't want to have hard conversations with people. We just want to sweep it under the rug. And I know for me, that is how a lot of my family dynamic was. We're going to sweep it under the rug. Okay? We're going to sweep it under the rug. It happened. We're not going to talk about it. It doesn't exist. And so for me, that was a big area that I knew that I wanted to break, even in my parenting, was no, we're going to communicate. We're going to cry. Okay. I got boys, y'all know, that are on here. I have boys. And so that whole stereotypical nature of, you know, boys don't cry. You cry because it is an emotion. Whatever that emotion is coming up that's producing those tears is actually healing. And so we have to cry. And for a very, very, very long time, I had suppressed and repressed emotions. And I learned all of this in therapy, y'all. Like, suppressed and repressed emotions. Like, I remember one time my therapist had asked me something and I really didn't show any emotion behind that. And she had noted that. And probably like consecutive sessions after that, we went back to that particular thing. And before I could even open up my mouth to say what it was, like a well came out of me. And y'all know how therapy can be, you know, yes. And they're kind of just looking at you like, you know, with gleam, because you've broken through a barrier that was there. And so as I've been journeying just into those things, a lot of the emotional weight that I experienced from childhood, relationships, all of those things began to kind of break, which has led me really into the pathway that I'm in now, which is like developing parents in their emotional wellness. So how we get to my 45-day reset, right? Last year was a really good year. It was a year of a lot of transition. And I want to say this when it comes to transition, y'all. You have to be very aware of things that are happening in transition. And you have to also be aware of your body your mental state, your emotional state, your all of the components that I talked about before. Be aware of that even in transition, because what comes with transition is grief, okay? And I know we talk about grief sometimes just from a state of losing an individual by way of death. But we literally are in transition so much sometimes that our physical bodies don't even have time to process it. And so this is why we can emotionally eat or not eat. This is why we may pick up addictive habits, because we have not processed what the transition really looks like, whether it is a positive transition or a negative transition. So 2023 had a lot of positive transitions for me. Although I experienced some negative transitions, I didn't really stop to process all of these things that were happening. And so we segue into 20 and 24. Now, you know, the top of 24, we like to make commitments to ourselves. I don't like to say resolutions. We just like to make commitments to ourselves. And so one of the commitments that I made to myself this year was, number one, I was going to lose, finally, like really, really buckle down and lose the excess weight that I have been carrying physically for probably the last 6 years. I was like, okay, Ashley, you know, you've been doing the work, you know, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you know, and even financially. So like, we need to get the excess weight off of you. Now, I wasn't committed to doing it as I was supposed to. Why? Because I just wasn't. Okay. There's no big explanation, because it would be an excuse. I just wasn't. I wasn't focused on that. And so top of this year, that's one of my commitments that I made. Another commitment that I made to myself was, Ashley, like, you're dope. And I don't say that in an arrogant way or a prideful way, but we do have to understand and recognize like the gifts that God has placed within us. And for a long, long time, like, I shied away from being out front, you know, leading, doing a lot of things. I like to keep things small and controlled. And that's a whole nother issue, you know, that can contribute to what I'm getting ready to talk about, is that control. Wanting to control what things look like. Wanting to control what the outcome is. The only thing that we have control over is ourselves. Self-control. It's a fruit of the spirit that I'm daily working on. It's self-control, because we cannot control the outcome of others. We cannot control sometimes even the outcomes in our environments. We can do what we do and we move forward. So another commitment that I made to myself, along with like exercising and really getting it in, was to practice. and I take a deep breath on that. But really, it's practice like that self-control. Practice that. Okay? Not being so reactive to certain things, but learning how to respond better, learning how to, you know, take a deep breath, pull back, and again, not be so reactive. That segued into making sure that I show up, like in spaces where I know I'm supposed to be in, like show up. That comes with understanding confidence and being confident in who you are. That rolls into identity. And we're going to talk more about that probably next month, of our identity, because it is important. A lot of times we get mixed up in our roles, and we make our roles our identity, whether you are a wife, whether you are a CEO, you know, whether you are, you know, doctor such and such. It's funny because like people will be like, you know, you get ready to be a doctor. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And that's cool and all, but that's not going to be my identity. Like, that's not going to be my identity. But I have seen people that make their identity what they do, not who they are. And it should be the opposite. It should be who you are flows into every single role that you have. So that was a major thing that I said I wanted to do this year. Who I am is going to flow into every role that I have. So nobody can ever, you know, try to tell me, oh, you switched up. No, I probably elevated. And that's something totally different, because when you understand who you are and you recognize who you are and you hone that thing, you can absolutely be confident in it, because number one, it is something that God has given you. Hear me loud and clear, B. It's something that God has given you. we take so much pride sometimes in like leading from behind. And even Monday when I was, coaching the ladies, she contradicted herself. She not on here, but she'll watch it. And I told her, I said, but you just contradicted yourself in what you said. She said, because I know I'm called to be a leader, but then I like leading from behind and da-da-da-da. Now, wow, yes, there are number twos, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with leading from behind, because sometimes you have to do that in order to get things accomplished, because we don't want to always be in a clash with things. Some of us are called to lead, called to pioneer things, called to produce things. And when we don't do it because of fear or because of, whatever emotion that you may be feeling, and you don't process that thing, then there can be a resentment that comes into you. And then you can lash out at other people because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And so this is why it's important, and I preach this every time I talk about this. This is why it's important to pause. Assess where you are in life. Am I where I desire to be? And if I'm not where I desire to be, let me reflect on what I have done that has gotten me to the place where I am. And as I reflect in that area, let me see where I had my wins, and let me celebrate those wins. Let me look at where I have, may have had some failures, because my failures are only going to show me where I need to pivot. As human beings, I personally, this is my own philosophy, I don't believe that we're failures. I believe that we make mistakes that can produce other things. Siri, I'm not talking to you. But I don't believe that. Siri, I'm not talking to you. I don't believe that we are failures. I truly don't believe that. So this is why I always preach, like, you need to reflect on your wins, celebrate your wins, give yourself grace. If you need to pause, absolutely. Life comes at us from all different angles, but you have to anchor yourself in what your vision is for your life. A lot of times we're just making goals, but if those goals really are not in alignment with the vision for your life, it's not in alignment with the purpose that is for your life, then you're just doing things to do them. And sometimes we're doing those things to either keep up with, like they say, keep up with the Joneses, or to make us feel good. What will make you feel good and do good is when you're in purpose, whatever that is. So that was a goal for me at the top of this year. So as this year has matriculated, y'all, we in month 6. Life happened really bad. Life happened really bad where I had to, and here's the thing about grief, y'all. It's such a tricky emotion, because you find yourself sometimes, and I talked about transition. I've been in transition, for a little over a year, and it hasn't always been sorrowful, but then you have some moments where it is just painful, because it's like, I gotta transition again, I gotta pivot again, and you get tired of that. And I think honestly, like, my body was in a place of burnout. And so what did I start to do? I started to do things from emotional places. I love ramen. I'm a ramen's girl. I would literally go eat ramen as much as I could. My friends could tell y'all, like, yeah, we're gonna go to Ramen Hood. We're gonna go to a ramen spot. Ramen. Now, that's not the healthiest option. And physically, I started to pay for that. I found myself like being more tired, being more fatigued, all of these things. Like, I'm working out, but again, it wasn't consistent. So transitioning, grieving people that are living. So grieving relationships that are no longer there. Having to have those hard conversations. Understanding that the people that I thought would be there are not there. Or, catch this, the people that you want to be there, they don't even have it to give. So you find yourself in this strange dichotomy of self-protection, but then also trying to be open to people. Okay. So this is me in 2024. Then we lose one of the most amazing people, in our family. And then that just skyrockets you to a whole nother level of grief, a whole nother level of you not even able to wrap your mind around like what's happening. And so even in that part right there, here I go again. Like, here I go again, like trying to figure out. And here's the thing, it's like it's not that I didn't have the tools. No, I told y'all, I've been to therapy. I'm still in therapy. So it's not that you don't have the tools. It's just that, okay, tools, you're gonna sit to the side right now because I want to cope with it the way that I want to cope with it. And so I'm not a sweets person at all. I'm not like a cakes, cookies, ice cream person. But what did I find myself doing, y'all, in the last year? Cakes, cookies, ice cream, just all of the junk. And I'm like, okay, Ashley, you can't do this. Now, this leads me, y'all, up to this reset. I remember, like, even with this process that I'm in of grief, like I said, because again, grief is, I consider grief like a mountain, y'all. My youngest son, Caleb, he did his project on Mount Fuji, and it is a mountain in Japan, but it's also a volcanic mountain. And for me, that just put it into a whole spiritual lens for me, because when you think about like a mountain, you know, that people observe, you know, it's not always active, but then when something triggers it, lava flows from it. It erupts. So for me, that's how grief can be. You can be very still in one moment. You can be fine for a lot of days, a lot of months. And then something can happen that triggers that volcanic lava flow, and boom, you find yourself spilling over. That was me. So I'm like, okay, Ashley, we can't stay like this. And this is the giving yourself grace part, because anytime trauma happens, whether it's intended trauma, you're welcoming it, and you know you're welcoming it, and that's a whole nother conversation, or it spontaneously happens, you got to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself grace. If you are like me, I can be analytical. I like to say this about myself. I am a recovering control analytic addict, okay? I'm a recovering control analytic addict, because I loved, keyword loved, past tense, because I'm working that thing out to have control, because that was a trauma response for me. I was a chronic overthinker, and so I was really good at making scenarios in my mind and then overthinking my way out of it, okay? I'm no longer operating in that lens anymore. I am learning how to literally, y'all, pause. Like, Ashley, because I can feel it. I can feel it. Anybody who's an overthinker, they can feel it when it's happening. You go into your mind and you will create 72,000 scenarios for one question that hasn't even been asked of you, for one scenario that you haven't even found yourself in. But because you're trying to hide and you're trying to create a safe space, this is what you'll do. So, in the midst of this transition, in the midst of grief, in the midst of all of these things, I found myself finding comfort, you know, and like, okay, you know, I'm just going to lay around. I'm a parlay. I was, yes, you can make yourself sick with overthinking. You can, the left side of your brain can have a whole nother scenario. The right side of your brain can have a whole nother scenario. And this is why our nervous system, though, y'all, is really off kilter. And I talked about the nervous system a couple of months ago. But this is why your nervous system will be off kilter, because you have not reset your nervous system from experiencing levels and layers of traumatic experiences. In the psychology world, some of them will call it a complex trauma, where it's just a compilation of different type of things that happen, and they're big, they're small, because you can't really quantify trauma and you can't invalidate it. But if you never deal with it, it stays lodged into your body. And I have this book, and it is a really intense book. It's somewhere up here on my levels of books, but it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's not a quick read. It is a very in-depth, deep dive. It took me a while, and I'm still not even done with the full book, because we have to understand, like, the way God created our bodies to be, even when he created Adam, like, he gave him dominion over everything. And he told him, like, you name everything that you see. And so we had everything we needed, but then we're in a fallen world. And then when you have greed and people who capitalize off of the trauma that we experience, and they put before us, because marketing is just a form of psychology. And so we try all of these different things. We do all of these different things. We find ourselves in all of these different spaces trying to figure out how to get back to a state of really calm. And it's really not hard. It's not as hard as we have made it to be. But we try so many different things, number one, because we don't like to sit with ourselves, and we don't like to sit with the things that come up within us. Because if we sit with the things that come up within us, then that means we have to do the work. And then if we do the work, that means we have to admit some things, and we have to admit our flaws. And y'all see where I'm going with this. So, over these last couple of months, I hadn't seen my therapist. I hadn't seen her in, a little over 8-9 months, because I didn't need to. I'm doing the work. You know what I'm saying? Internally, I'm doing the work. But I realized that where I am now, I've not been at this space. Never. I've not been at this space. Never. Thank you, Cousin Pam, for the stars. I've not been at this space ever. So I'm like, I've got to implore some strategies from someone else. But also at the same time, I got to get back to what I know. I'm like, okay, Lord, like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on with me. Like, this is how, I'm seeing things, and I need your perspective. I need your insight. And I remember going on a journey with God in 2019, and I was like, you know what? Like, I need to know you as Father. Like, as a kid, you go to church, you're introduced to God in whatever way that you're introduced to him as. But for me, personal relationship, just with anybody, but specifically with God, it takes intentionality, because he is a being that we cannot see. So it's like we have to be intentional with allowing him into our space. And so I'm like, all right, Lord, like, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm sensing. So he tells me May the 20th, he says, you need to go on a 45-day reset. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like 45 days, what does that look like? And so I was talking to a friend, and I was like, listen, because we were kind of in the same space. And another friend of mine, I didn't tell her anything, y'all, about like 45 days. This is what I'm doing. And when we talked, she turned her camera over. We were on FaceTime, and she was like, I'm on 45 days too. So it's like really like a reset that's really happening amongst people. And I really feel like it's happening in the earth as well, because we cannot stay the same. Now, you can if you want to. I choose not to. And I always say this, like, if you come around me, you're either going to elevate or you're going to fall off. Like I said, it's not an arrogance. It is just something that I know that is on my life, that I help people grow. I help them multiply what God has placed in them. I take joy and pride in being able to walk alongside people and see them elevate and see them grow. Not because I'm so dope and all of those things, because I know it's a gift that God has given me. And if we never unlock our gifts that God has given us, then it really lays dormant. And we're supposed to unlock it for us first, then for other people. So here we are, May 20th. It's like going a 45-day reset. So I'm like, okay, what does that look like? Get specific instructions to, walk 10K a day. Now, y'all, I don't be walking 10K a day like that. I didn't before. It was like I go to the gym, I get my little workout in, and then, whatever. And even in that, I wasn't pushing my body. I wasn't pushing myself. It was just something I was doing out of repetition. That can be dangerous. We're going to put a pin there. So It's 10K steps a day and 3 days of strength training. But the kicker was in changing the diet. Okay, I'm not a breakfast person, y'all. I don't like breakfast. I've never liked breakfast. Like, I don't understand like how people can eat like that full course meal, you know, potatoes, eggs, grits, all of the things. Like, if you do it, that's your jam. It's just not my jam. I cook breakfast for the kids if they eat it, but they really are like, you know, biscuits or a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Not too much, right? So I found myself having to sit down and make a list of like stuff that I could eat for breakfast. And it was agitating me because it's not something that I do. Going back to that control factor, y'all. If it's not something that you like to do, then why would you want to do it? But if it's something that's going to benefit you, Ashley, why not do it? So that's a question that I'm posing to you all. If it's something that you don't like doing, but you know that you need to be doing, why not do it? Will it take time? Yes. Will it cause for you to evolve into another version of who you're supposed to be? Absolutely. But the beautiful thing on the other side of the emergence of a butterfly from the cocoon, y'all see how the flowers, the colors that come off of a butterfly, even the white butterflies, if you get up close to them, you can see different speckles on them. And they fly away and they do whatever they're supposed to do. So a reset is really like an emergence of a better version of who you're supposed to be. So that's how I took it. I'm like, okay, Lord, like I'm gonna do it, you know? And so since then, it was, like I said, the 10K steps a day or more, 3 days strength training, making sure that I put something on my stomach instead of trying to do fasted cardio, which is not always beneficial for you, burn it off with something. Like, okay, so I had to do some research on those things. Getting more fiber in me. Now, listen, y'all, if you got a weak stomach, you're not gonna want to hear this part, but just, it's not gonna be graphic. It's just that over these last 22 days or however long it's been, y'all, like I done pooped more. Like, and I realized that's my body's response to expelling waste that is within me. I juice. So I like to juice anyways, but I started juicing. The first week I did green juice. So, the girl, so I did green juice. And that was, it tastes like trash, but it was okay. I did the green juice. Then I did a week off from juicing. And so it was just more water intake. Like I bought this new water jug, which this holds 80 ounces of water. So I was drinking more water. Then that third week, which was I think last week, I did beets. So beets and carrots and ginger juice. So I juiced that. Now I would recommend throwing in a green apple because it will, for me, it will cut that sweet taste. The beets and the carrots together was very, very sweet, but I was not about to waste that. So I drank it, okay? Beets and carrots. Beets help with, I forgot what it does. It's beneficial for you. Carrots are good for your eyes, for your skin. Vitamin K comes from carrots. So I had my doctor's appointment last week. And I love going to the doctor. I love, you know, making sure that my health is together. You know, I don't care about the dentist, but I go because, again, that was a trauma for me when I was a kid. We're not going to the dentist. But I was like, girl, you a whole adult, okay? You're going to get over it. And you're going to make sure holistically you're together because you cannot say one thing and then be doing another. I don't like that. I don't like liars, okay? That's just a me thing. So I go to the doctor. You know, I'm talking to my doctor. I've been with her since I was 17 years old. So she has, you know, my history run down. So she's asking me things. She's, you know, we're talking. She's like, okay, well, you look good. She was like, you know, I did my pap smear. And so for ladies, listen, okay? This is Wellness Wednesday. Make sure that you are going to the doctor and the dentist and getting your workup done, okay? Get the things done. Do not be in fear of what the doctor may say or what you think. If something is happening in your body, if you don't feel things are right, get to the doctor. So this is my annual checkup, y'all. So I go, listen, yes, listen, she said, everything looked good, nice, healthy, everything, was happening down in that region. I'm like, awesome. Okay. She's like, call me in a week. I said, okay, call you in a week. She's like, call me in a week, for your test results. I said, okay, cool. So this would be a week, y'all. So Friday, she calls me and she's like, hey, Ashley, you have BV. Y'all, I flipped out because first of all, I don't have issues. Okay, I don't have issues. I didn't even know what the heck BV was. I called my friend. She was like, BV. And I was like, girl, I said B as in boy, V as in Victor. She said, oh, I was about to say, girl, you've been over there having sex with people. And I was like, girl, I said BV. B as in boy, V as in Victor. She was like, oh, bacterial vaginosis. I said, girl, I don't know what that is. But of course, my doctor, she said it's completely treatable. She said it's just when, bacteria, in your vaginal area, your vagina, you have a conglomerate of those things. I was like, okay. I'm like, so I'm okay. She was like, yeah. She's like, I'm just going to order your antibiotics. She was like, oh, go order the antibiotics and, take the antibiotics 2 times a day for 10 days. And I'm just like, ugh. Again, y'all, I don't like medicine either. If it can come holistically, from the earth, like God created it, like I'm going to do that. I don't like antibiotics because it just, ugh. So I'm like, Ashley, all right, you don't like to do it, but you're going to do it. Now, let me tell y'all how God, came for me because maybe about a month or so ago, I had an allergic reaction on my eyelid, but it was making my eye swollen. All of this right up in here, y'all, was really scaly and patchy, and my eye felt like something was stabbing me in it. And again, because I don't like to really take medication, I'm like, maybe let me just try to flush it out, all of that. Anyways, I ended up doing a telehealth, and the doctor was like, well, it sounds like an allergic reaction. I'm going to give you some antibiotic drops. Go pick it up, da-da-da-da. So I was like, okay, cool. Picked it up. Sure enough, it helped. I did find at Target, some eyelid cleaner. First of all, I didn't even know that was a thing. When I tell y'all, over these last 2.5 months, I've just been on a journey of wellness. And I thank God for that because some of the things that I didn't even know existed, exist. What? An eyelid cleaner? Like an eyelid cleaner. So I get that. I get the antibiotic drops for my eyes. Now, here I am fussing about having to take oral antibiotics. And the Lord was like, but you was quick to take those antibiotics for your eyes. And I was like, cool. Touche. Great. Thanks for that. I don't even like doing that, Auntie Pam. I don't even like doing that. What I do, I take probiotics for women health in the refrigerator, not the, I don't know. It's refrigerator kind, because I did ask her about that, and she did say you can do that, but I don't know, y'all. I just be funny. So like Britt said, clean out all the good bacteria. So I'm taking the antibiotics, right? So this morning, y'all, I'm like, oh, well, it's not Thursday, I'll call tomorrow. This morning my doctor calls me. Now I'm like, first of all, if your doctor's calling you at 7:30 in the morning, what's happening? So I missed the call. I listened to her voicemail and I called her back. And on the voicemail, y'all, she said, hey, Miss H, it's Dr. Covington. She's very jolly. She's a Black doctor as well. So, and I trust her. She pushes more holistic things, but if you need the medication, take the medication. And I'm an advocate for that too, regardless of if it's for your mental health or your physical health. If you need the medication, take the medication. So like I said, I sucked it up. I'm taking this antibiotics. I'm almost done next Tuesday. Praise God. She calls me this morning. She tells me, y'all, hey, Miss H, I got your labs back. Everything looks good. But you're pre-diabetic, y'all. Y'all. I'm like, a pre-diabetic? Okay, what the heck is that? So she says, she runs off everything to me, that my A1C level, she was like, it was 5.8. She was like, it's really, really low. She's like, it's really, really low. She was like, so I'm not concerned about it. She was like, what I want you to do is, lay off the carbs, lay off the juices and the fruits. She was like, incorporate more leafy greens in your diet. She was like, I know you said that you're, doing more exercise. She was like, keep up with that. She was like, and then I want to check your A1C in 3 months. She was like, and that's about all. So I called her back, because I had some other questions, because she was talking about RPR, reactive situation. And I'm like, girl, what does this mean? What does it help me help you so I can help us? Okay. Because what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So she explained some things to me and I said, okay. Now I wasn't like in a fright. I wasn't scared or anything like that. Cause she kept emphasizing, she's like, you're fine. She said, it's pre-diabetic. She was like, and some of these things could be, antibodies, the RPR situation. She's like, these could be antibodies because of the BV. She was like, so this is why I want to check your A1C again in 3 months. So I'm like, okay, and I was on a walk at this time. Caleb and I, we were on our walk, and I just began to really, y'all, like, thank God, because I'm already on a reset. So do y'all see like how it's already like coming together? Like God knew what was trying to transpire in my body because of all of the things that have been happening externally. And because I wasn't doing certain things, because I was given into my feelings, I was given into my desires, emotional eating, not really taking things serious. Again, I told you I'm a ramen person. That's carbohydrates. Those are not the best carbs, okay? And I don't mean like the ramen, like top ramen. Like I was eating like the Japanese ramen, going to those restaurants. That's nothing but carbs. So God had already knew like, hey, there's some things that's trying to creep up in your body. You need to be proactive. And I'm getting ready to give you the regimen to do this. So that way, whatever is trying to come against you, it can't work. And I was smiling as I was walking, and I was thanking God, like, thank you for prompting me. And I'm glad I even obeyed and listened to be on this reset. I find like I've mastered like the walking part, as far as like walking up a hill, because where I live, like we have a good hill. I walk up that hill now like with no problem. So I said, okay, Ashley, now it's time to take it up a notch. You need to put some running on this thing. And so that's what I did today, y'all. I'm like, I'm gonna walk a block and then I'm gonna run a block. I'm gonna walk a block and I'm gonna run a block. And although right now I may not see like physical weight coming off, I know that by the end of this journey, and it's a continuous journey. So it's not just, 45 days and then I'm done. I'm going to go back to the same thing that I was doing before. Because what's the purpose? What's the purpose of resetting? To do it again. That's the definition of a reset, is to do it again, but differently. What is the purpose of doing that if you're just going to go back to the same things that you was doing before? So I said, okay, I'm even more determined to make sure that what I have started these last 20 days or so, I continue it out. It's a lifestyle change. And so wellness, y'all, is about a holistic lifestyle change. Whatever area of wellness you find yourself in, whether you find yourself in physical wellness, whether you're finding yourself right now in mental wellness, emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, financial wellness, and you need to reset in that area, do it. Do it. I always give an example from my life. I don't have anything to hide, and I ain't afraid of nobody. Wherever you find yourself on the spectrum of wellness, where you know you need to reset, we're at the second half of the year. In 2024, whatever commitments that you made to yourself at the top of the year, or even last year, heck, even 5 years ago, whatever commitment that you've made to yourself that you've not seen progress in, I would encourage you to pick that thing up again. Figure out what you need to do. write out a plan. Get some accountability for that plan. And accountability, we know, as I told you guys before, the definition Ashley's way, accountability means that I'm holding you responsible for your actions. That's accountability. It's to be held responsible for your actions. So as I'm on this 45-day reset, I have people that are holding me accountable for my actions. As I share with y'all, y'all can hold me accountable for my actions. Check in with me. Okay, I remember on this day on the live, you said this, and that. Okay, so how are you doing with this? We all need accountability. There is not one single person in the earth that should not have accountability. Now, we know it's true. People really don't like that accountability because then they may feel like, oh, you're trying to control me. But a wise person says, hey, if I can trust you to help make me better, why not? Why not? So I encourage us, because I always put myself in it. Make sure that you're going back to whatever plan you had, whatever thing you said you wanted to do, and reflecting on where you are now and how close you are to that thing. And like I said, if you need to reset, reset. I'm going to lay off the ramen, okay? I told my youngest son, because I got him hooked on ramen. Glenn likes ramen. Listen, I'm not buying no ramen. First of all, it's summertime. We getting ready to be on these good salads and just all of the different types of foods that are beneficial for our body. I've been trying certain things over the last year or so, just dibbling and dabbling with plant-based. I haven't really committed my lifestyle to it fully, but I am causing for certain things to kind of diminish. One of those really being meat, because as I did some research, red meat, especially in African Americans, can trigger certain types of diseases. And we know that what's happening with the meat nowadays is not something that we want to put in our body, let alone it's not something that I want to give to my kids. Processed, chemically based, genetically modified, whatever you want to call it. I'm not doing it unless I can go to somebody's farm and chop the head of the chicken off, or however they do it. I'm not doing it. And so finding more healthier alternatives, because I told Caleb, and I tell Glenn this, and he's not really listening, but whatever. I told Caleb, I said, it's really about the flavor. Y'all like the flavor of a thing. It's the flavor. So if you can season something really well, yes, we know it's not what we've been used to, but that's a part of a reset. Doing it differently. That's a part of a reset. And so if I'm desiring for their lifestyles to change in a certain way, I have to be the example. And I started off this live by talking about that. Have to be the example of that. So I can't always be sitting up, I'm going to get Cold Stones. Y'all, one of my parents gave me a Cold Stone gift card at the end of the school year. And I'm like, I love Cold Stones. It's something that I eat, especially, when that time of the month comes. I like to go get my mint chocolate chip with a dash of marshmallows in it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't get the little like it size. I like to get the take home size, so that I can have some more for a couple more days. But even when I did that last week, it took me 3 days to finish that. Whereas before, please, I ate that in 1 day. And so I'm seeing how, as I'm resetting my habits, resetting, even in my thought process, realizing that I'm not going to allow my emotions to drive me, but I am going to allow myself to process what I'm feeling and giving myself grace, even in the moments of whatever I'm feeling, to sit with that and then to release it, because I don't want it to be stored in my body. Our emotions can be stored in our body, in our gut, in our shoulders, in our hips, in our feet, in our chest, and in our joints. These are major areas that our emotions are stored if we do not process them out. So I'm on this journey, y'all. I'm resetting. I'm excited to see, July 5th will be the 45th day. And I have a checkup on July 3rd. I'm excited to see, well, at that point, how much, weight I have shedded. I've noticed, like, even in my face, like, that's come down some. I saw myself, like, literally swollen. Like, I looked back at other videos and I was like, yeah, girl. Inflammation. When I was talking to my doctor this morning, she said, you know, because I was telling her when I had my checkup, like, you know, how my skin was breaking out. I had bad breakout, y'all. Didn't even realize what was happening in my body over the last year. Like, I would have breakouts all down here in my chin. I'm thinking, oh, it's just hormonal, or, you know, oh, it's just because, you know, my cycle is coming. Like, no. This thing was trying to set up residence in my body, and it's not going to happen. It's not, I'm not going to allow it to happen. I'm never under the impression that if you know better, you do better, because that's not always true. We can know so much and still not do anything with it. But if we know it and we apply it, then we can do better. So we have to make sure that the application piece is in the forefront of our minds. And so that's today Wellness Wednesday, y'all. I like to stay 30 minutes and under, but today went a little bit longer. But yeah, that's today Wellness Wednesday, y'all. Reset. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever you need to do, reset. You're not too old, you're not too young, you're not stuck. A lot of times we think that we're stuck and we need to reset. We need to press the reset button and then be intentional in that reset. Implore some accountability. Implore that thing. Get you some trusted people that want to see you do well. Yes, ma'am, Cousin Pam. It can set your emotions can set in your body. If you ever think about one of the areas for me was like tight hips. And I don't know how to do it. I'm going to post it. That's what I'll do. I'll post it on my page. I have a diagram of what that looks like. Happy belated birthday. I have a diagram of what it looks like of certain things that can be lodged in your body and where. And so I'll post that diagram once I log off this live so that you guys have a visual representation of what that looks like. Because I know I'm a visual person. So I will put that up there so you all can see. But yes, your emotions can absolutely be stored in your body. And I know for women, they're stored a lot of time. Tension is in our shoulders. And so we have these knots in our shoulders. And stretching will help that happen. And when you're stretching, really releasing. That's what it's about. Like, again, going back to that control. Yes. Do you have an Apple Watch? Listen, anybody that has an Apple Watch, and this is just for anybody, if you catch any replay, if you have an Apple Watch and you want to like be accountable in just physical activity, I don't know how to do it. Do you have to put your email? Put your email on the chat on this video or something like that so we can hold one another accountable in that. I really don't know how to do it, y'all. I have devices just because I just want certain things. I don't know how to do it, but I'll figure out if you're supposed to go by email or by phone number, and then I'm gonna do it because yeah, we need to hold one another accountable, you know, in this area. But we're done, y'all. So yes, it's a reset. We're resetting our lifestyle, y'all. And so B, you're on the reset. You're on the reset. And you know I'm good for holding you accountable. So when you're ready, you let me know. Like, it was funny because, y'all, there was somebody that was on a Wellness Wednesday live. And she's like, I want accountability. And I was like, okay, cool. And so we had a couple conversations. And, yeah, she didn't want my accountability anymore because I'm really going to hold you accountable. Because there's so much in each of us that sometimes we just let life just life us. And life is not going to win us. Yes. And that's it. People will just, you know, try to suck what you have and then leave, or they just don't want what you have. And you have to be careful of that because you cannot pour into everything. There's a scripture that says, do not cast your pearls before swine. So you have to be absolutely careful with who you allow to be accountable for you. That's why I said you need trusted people. Okay. You don't just be out here like, oh, hold me accountable. Like, no. And you will win. And you will win. And you will win. So y'all, we're done with this week's Wellness Wednesday. Like I said, if you're not following me on the Parent Network Instagram page, please do so, as that is where I do a lot of lives and just I post content specific for this parenting journey. And that Instagram is @_the Parent Network _ where we had a live last night with Dennis, and it was a really good conversation. And we're going to wrap up Mental Health Month for Men. June 25th will be the last conversation that we'll have, and he'll be sharing with us like on what that looks like, mental health and parenting from a father's perspective, but also as he is currently divorced. So I'm excited about that conversation, and we'll be back again in this setting for Wellness Wednesday in 2 weeks. So that is going to be, what is that? What's 2 weeks? Whatever 2 weeks is from today, y'all. But I love y'all to life. I love you too, B. I love you, Cousin Pam. I love all of you that are watching the replay. Seriously, I do this because I want us to be wealthy, okay, in all areas of our life. So go out there and get that reset popping.